Hi guys, welcome to Snakes and Adders. We're continuing our introducing series by today discussing dab-tailed lizards or Mastigures. Other people will know them in the hobby as Uromastyx. Uromastyx is the Latin name, and some people refer to them in sort of common vernacular, but it's dab-tail or Mastigure or spiny-tailed lizards are the more common names. So he's a little whippy boy, but he'll get used to us, don't worry, he'll calm down. Uromastyx are ace. These are a tame, herbivorous, stunning lizard. Now this guy's still young, so his colours are only just beginning to break out. But under good strength UV light, as he gets older, we're starting to see some flashes of orange coming through. His back's going to be like a solid tangerine orange with these dark sort of black outlying colours. And you can see this amazing compressed spiny whip of a tail, which is the meaning of Uromastyx. So spiny whip basically. Absolutely awesome. They'll use it to try and get you to let go of them. They've just got to get used to being handled. They actually become totally tame as bearded dragons and easily worked with. They've got really great faces that are full of personality, like little sort of parrot or budgie faces with those little eyes, and quite tortoise-like as well. Big heavy set muscles, yes, hello, and that is for being able to eat tough vegetation which may have a rind or a skin, and they need to be able to break that off. Where they're from, these are semi-desert and desert regions, and it can be difficult for them to get their food. So Genus Uromastyx was described by Merriam in 1820. There are a few species that you may come across within the hobby. There is Bell's, or the Algerian Uromastyx, which is Uromastyx acanthonoris. There's this one, which is the Moroccan Uromastyx, which is Uromastyx acanthonoris nigriventris. There is the Egyptian Mastigure, which is Uromastyx aegypticus. The Mali Uromastyx, which is Uromastyx maliensis or Uromastyx dispar maliensis. There is the Saharan spiny-tailed lizard, which is Uromastyx gayeri. There's the ornate Mastigure, which is Uromastyx ornata, and the Oman spiny tail, which is Uromastyx tomasi, which is highly sought after. The largest of the group is Uromastyx aegypticus, and these can reach very impressive lengths, far bigger than you would think possible. It takes years, but they do get there. So you really need to be checking out the climate data and the climographs for North and Northeast Africa and the Middle East, so Egypt, Oman, Iran, Morocco, areas where surface temperatures would regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees Fahrenheit. These guys come from some of the most extreme biomes on Earth, and they survive and they thrive, and our job as captive keepers is to try and recreate that within our vivariums. So care, quite obviously, hot and dry. Like really hot. The core body temperature of the Uromastyx is recommended to be between 103 and 105 degrees Fahrenheit. This is to aid digestion and also to make sure that their immune system is working at full bore. So we would want most of the tank surface to be between 90 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit, with a localized basking area of 120 to 125 degrees Fahrenheit. A cool shelter at the far end of the tank, about 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're now obviously talking about maybe longer, lower terrestrial style tanks rather than tall display units, simply because mechanically we have to be able to create this super extreme hotspot and then get the cool down at the other end. So we're not going to be able to do that with, say, a taller tank. It's going to be difficult. So we would think maybe for the larger species, a 622, for the smaller species maybe 41818 or 51818, so that we'd maybe drop in the roof. It foreshortens where the width of the basking area, we can get that exceedingly hot, and then they can sort of taper away, but we don't want it to get too cool. So these are predominantly super hot lizards, so even at a cool end of 85 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, that's still 30 degrees. So we need to also think about vent placement within the viv. So usually at the hot end we will have the vents at the top. These are our exhaust, and then obviously because of how much we're heating the tank, the exhaust, the hot air will be escaping at a rate. We then need to have a inlet down at the cool end, usually at the bottom, which will drag the fresh air through. So air circulation is going to be important, particularly as well as one of the 5 fundamental freedoms of keeping anything is that we provide them with fresh water. But then that's questionable as to how much water they would naturally have access to in the wild. But we don't want to get caught short, we don't want to be accused of cruelty. It does not need to be a big container, but it just needs to be big enough for them to maybe get their snout in on the odd occasion that they would want a drink. I'd sooner provide something and it not be used than not provide it at all. The risk is if the tank is not ventilated well enough, this will increase humidity, and humidity can be an issue for something that is a Saharan species. Okay, so we make sure that we're not going to go too mad with that sort of stuff. Most of the moisture, if not all of the moisture that these animals require, will come from the vegetation that they eat. So heating can be provided by a ceramic or a spot bulb. So I'm going to get people saying, oh, you can't use ceramics, or you can't use this. The problem that we've got is that we can't allow them to cool down too much at night. So if they're going to drop below 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, let's think about the British winter, think about rooms, what they potentially can drop to, whether it be 55, 60 degrees Fahrenheit downstairs. I'm in a uninsulated mid-terraced house in Sheffield. If you know, we don't provide any heat, the living room and dining room could drop to 13, 14 degrees Celsius with no issue. So we really need to be careful, and we want to be trying to keep them around that 20-degree marker. And British houses don't stay at that overnight. You know, maybe now we're having this heat wave midsummer, yeah, fine, but midwinter, in spring, no, I'm not having it. So we need to be able to provide a regulated heat source. So I would provide maybe a ceramic. You could back that up with a clear spot that maybe is part of the circuit that you can then turn off. But they're heliotherms, they have heat receptors on their back, they know when they're warming up, they're not stupid. I've kept animals under ceramics for years and bred them, and they find their way to the basking spot quite easily, and they lay there and bask, and once they're happy then they move away. But that's down to you. So you would definitely need a thermostat, something where you can control the temperature. We're on the knife edge really, and if we go too hot, the risk is we can also cause problems as well. So a thermostat's an absolute must. When we're working at 50 degrees Celsius, we need to make sure that doesn't turn to 60 degrees Celsius and so on. So let's make sure that we've got it under control. So a good, reliable digital thermostat, the best of which are dimmers, with a day and night drop system, and therefore we can keep an area at that 75-80 degrees at the warm end throughout the night time, so that they still have access to that heat if they would want it. So because ceramics are non-light emitting, that's the best way. We can't use clear spots at night. That affects their circadian rhythms, which is a natural biological process, roughly oscillates around 24 hours, and that's our day and night cycle. So we mustn't have a bright lit tank all the time. So a clear bulb running throughout the night's a no-no. So it isn't just a case of turning everything off. Think about how you're going to control this vivarium through the night to be able to provide the heat, and it must be controlled and on a thermostat. UV levels as high as you can get. Literally the most powerful bulb on the market is the bulb that you want. These guys are getting the unfiltered full bore of the sun in equatorial desert regions of the world. So we are talking about the 12 and 14% T5 tubes with the reflectors, absolutely banging out the light so that we can give them as much UV as possible. This is for them to be able to synthesize vitamin D3 and to be able to create strong and healthy bone, which we would supplement with calcium and multivitamin powders onto the diet. Generally they're going to be on a 12-hour cycle. Being equatorial, they've got a pretty even split day to night. As we start moving towards the tropics, the day and nights extend or decrease depending on where the sun is in the cycle. So bear that in mind as well. Diet. So when they're younger, as much as people are probably going to scream, they will take insects. They don't want to do it as adults. This can cause liver damage, but as they're growing, when they're young, they do require a source of protein, and occasional live foods will not do you any harm, and it will help to bolster the protein supplies to be able to provide that additional growth. Now, some people opt not to do this and keep them totally vegetarian and find success. I am merely stating that during those younger parts of their life, they can have the extra protein, come to no harm, and they will be okay. I am not saying exclusively feed them live foods. I'm saying give it them as a treat. The rest of their diet can be a mix of as follows. So this is not limited to, but this is to give you a range of things that you can feed them. So I'm going to look at the list because I can't remember it all. So curly endive, frisee, escarole, alfalfa, Opuntia cactus pad. So genus Opuntia is also known as prickly pears, and you can get some nude forms that don't have the spines, so you could try finding them, or the spine sections are reduced. So Opuntia robusta is a good one for that, and you'll find places that sell the pads on eBay and places, and you can order a fresh pad. These are great nutrition, store lots of moisture for the animal as well, and a tough rind where they can really bite into it and get going. Dandelion, but be careful. Dandelion can be a diuretic, so this could lead to dehydration. So when we're on a knife edge at 50 degrees Celsius, let's think about whether we're going to dehydrate them too much. You may have an endless supply, but let's not go mental. As part of a balanced diet, they're okay. Butternut squash, including the rind, so that they can really get their beak going. Spring greens, radicchio, rocket, watercress, pak choi, courgette, shredded carrot, and then we can also feed them flowers, which are commonly available, or as bedding plants, which you could even grow in grow bags to be able to support the diet throughout the year, which would be pansies, violets, nasturtiums, dahlia, and then we could also use hollyhock. Some of the wild plants would include nettle and dock, so we can use those as well. I mean, nettle's perfectly digestible, the sting doesn't affect them, and they're everywhere. Just make sure that we've not had them in an area where pesticides have been sprayed, and make sure that any eggplants that come in from outside have been thoroughly washed to try and get shut of any fallout that may have come onto them throughout where they've been, especially if they're roadside. I wouldn't use them, I'd use them more from meadows and fields. And then they will also take soaked lentils, white millet, safflower, clover and sesame seed as well. Now, don't go mad with the seeds. Some people have found that they will take more seeds than they should, so that should be as part of a balanced diet as well, and maybe offer them the seeds once or twice a week, and hope that they take the rest of the vegetation as their standard diet. Now, temperament wise, as youngsters, they can be a bit whippy, a bit wriggly, they don't want to sit still, such as this guy. I mean, he's on the whole now, he's getting used to us and he's behaving, but when an animal is stressed or excited, they release the endorphins, and you'll find that the colours actually come out. This is the same with tokay geckos, which you can get out of a tank and they're dark, and 2 minutes later they're like electric blue. This guy's the same. When it came out, his colours were very, very faded. The camera, unfortunately, I very much doubt will be picking up all of these extra pinks and oranges that are now forming on his back, and they will fade again once he goes inside the tank. So they will calm down, they will become totally tame. They've got one of the most personable and I think beautiful faces. They are so cute, they are full of personality. Because of the wide range of their diet, they are reasonably easily cared for. Do not think you're going to get away with just going and buying some pre-chopped salad from Asda. It's not going to work. You're going to need to really think about the diet you will be buying specifically for these dudes. For people that have got a problem with live foods, don't necessarily want the crickets and locusts in the house, yet they still want to be able to keep a lizard. They don't want the size of a green iguana at 6 feet long. They want something manageable where they're not feeding the live foods. Then the Uromastyx potentially is for you. They are fabulous beginner lizards. I think they're ace. Make sure you do your research. The diet is all important. The UV is all important, and the heat is very, very important indeed. We need to make sure that we've researched and done as much as we can to be able to learn about this fabulous group. You will not go wrong, but prepare yourself. Prepare yourself properly. The Latin name is Uromastyx, which is Uromastyx, or Dabbtails or Mastigures. Visit the website, which is www.snakesandadders.co.uk. see what we're all about. We'll keep the videos coming. I'm sorry they've not been as regular as they were, but we've had a lot on with new stock coming in, etc, etc, so we'll try and get back on top of everything and keep the videos rolling forwards. I know that we've done a lot more snakes than we have lizards and amphibians, so we will get there. We've had requests for different species. Guys, we've got to have the species in stock. I'm not going to be doing any more videos where we haven't got them. As you can appreciate, some of the requests that we're getting are for species that aren't really that commonly available, so I will not pass up the opportunity to do a video with them, but I need to get them in stock first. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back soon. All the best. Cheers.